we were interested to know whether the European Union communicates to the Eastern partners in ways which are consistent and topical and interesting. A lot of the debate in this area is talking about the European Union as a transformative power. And a transformative power has been something that the EU has felt it has been towards enlargement candidates and not so much towards the neighbors, but of course the European Union still applies a lot of conditionality, talks about reform, which we call transformative power. And a lot of the debate in the literature, a lot of colleagues know, of course, that the EU also has been called a normative power, a power that talks about norms to its neighbors, and also the EU has been called soft power in the classical knife formulation. So we did some analysis of the European Union's communications through the delegation websites in a period of 6 months, from June to July 2016, right? And with the help of a number of partners who looked at these communications, we came to some conclusions that the EU communicates differently to the different countries that we looked at, namely Belarus, Ukraine, and Moldova. So what did we find?
We found that there are quite some differences in how the EU talks to each of these countries, and we saw also clear patterns of where the EU could be called a transformative power, and that are the cases especially of Moldova and Ukraine, where the reforms, assistance, but also democratization come into the fore in terms of communications. But we also found out that there is a big difference with Belarus. So Belarus is treated differently. The EU is definitely talking about norms more, about rights, making an emphasis on human rights and what is going wrong in terms of human rights in Belarus.
So that's why we say that in respect to Belarus, the EU communicates as a normative power. And again, we talk about communications and not necessarily about the whole policies of the European Union towards those countries. And there was one other thing we found. So even though the communication has been quite differentiated, there was one similarity across the communications of the EU. So one other last thing we found, which is important to understand.
That thing is that actually EU still talks very much in general terms. So it announces its events, it talks about communications between diplomats, which are not necessarily very relevant or perceived as something that is aimed at citizens. So in this information, the power is getting lost also.
So therefore, we very much support the diversification of the European Union's manner of communicating, the opening of new channels through social media campaigns or other channels which we have also noted, they're getting stronger in the period of our research, where the European Union is using less event-oriented information and is more focusing on what it can do for the citizens of the neighborhood.